Hello and welcomes back everyone, AnthWolf here with even more Pillars of Eternity. We are on our way up to the Ducal Palace to get into the animancy hearings. See if we can convince the Duke that animancy isn't to blame for Waidwen's legacy. Hello, Sidley. Nothing new to tell me? That's fair. The place has been reserved for you. On the balcony, Balmung. Go to the upper floor. Oh, excellent. The downside is if any fights break out, we're not going to be able to get downstairs to assist the Duke. Damn, I'm cynical. Hopefully it all goes well then. Received word from Renan that you would be attending Balmung. The balcony has been opened for you. Thank you. Let's drop a big save. We dropped one just at the end of the last video. I tend to save afterwards. Let's see how this goes. The room below is animated amidst a heated debate. All the representative groups are easily discerned in the crowd. Crucible knights stiff in their noisy armour sit in one section. In another there are well-dressed members of House Dominel, casual, watching with a predator's interest. Still elsewhere are the ramshackle dozens, who have made no special effort to dress up for their liege lord. Interspersed are animancers in their academic robes, with expressions either soured or concerned.
Well then, answer me this, Master Barash. If you animancers represent our best hope to cure the legacy, what progress can you demonstrate?
At the back of the chamber sits the Duke, sprawled in his throne, walled down but alert, and feisty nonetheless.
As I've said, it isn't about progress, it's about potential.
My house would agree, Your Grace. We see great potential in its future.
And I suppose your blazing profits during the legacy don't have nothing to do with that, do they, Dominel? You can't have it both ways no more! Animancy goes, or this country goes!
So you admit, Master Barask, that animancy is no closer to stopping the legacy than it ever was?
No, we've had many promising experiments. Cadman Azo has shown...
Cadman Azo murdered a child. For a complete failure. We should be hanging him right now for what he done. The dozens won't stand for it.
There is no need. Master Azo recently passed the Shroud. And while the experiment failed, his work...
Oh, we can speak up. His work was sabotaged.
Ah, our new delegate from the dozens. What makes you say sabotage?
All at once, the attendees turn their faces towards you, a mishmash of judgment and incredulity. Only the Duke, a wild-looking man with a scraggly beard, seems unfazed by your interruption. I met a false patient in Brackenby Sanitarium who had tampered with Izo's machinery.
The fuck's that even matter? These are people who would toy with the lives of our children!
Indeed. Even assuming there was sabotage, is this animancer Azo not still accountable here?
This was not the Baelrich incident. This is a responsible scientist who was manipulated. Alof whispers between gritted teeth. How can you call him responsible? You saw the state of the sanitarium.
Horseshit! These animancers can't be trusted! Look at what happened in Heritage Hill! Our supposed protectors from Crucible Keep can't even clean up the messes animancy leaves!
Are you sure this is your delegate, Adric?
You won't be for long making claims like that.
Your Grace, we'd have a much easier time of it if our knights weren't so occupied trying to keep their organization from igniting a revolution on our very doorstep.
Heritage Hill is blood on your hands, Justiciar! You turn a blind eye, and look what happens.
Decisions. Which one do we go with? The Crucible Knights are blameless here. This is not the workings of animancy, but an ancient device in Tia Noref.
You've some strange taste in travels, friend. The height of your tales expands with every breath.
My word is my oath. I challenge anyone here to find someone who knows different.
I had heard whispers of a new delegate set to attend today's hearing. I admit that your candor was mentioned more than once. Tell us what you saw in Heritage Hill.
Tia Noref houses an Engrifian machine that holds dominion over the flow of souls. It was this machine that made the district undead.
Even if it is as you say, we have testimony that a group of animancers had been spending time there. Surely their tinkering had something to do with this.
They followed decisions. We can't prove that the Leaden Key were there. We'll go with a perception. Anything with kind of a bonus is probably worthwhile trying this option, because it means that we needed to pass a test to actually use it, and that it may have more acceptable results. They followed ambition blindly, making few precautions and allowing personal feelings to get in the way of solving the problem.
But the very purpose of these experiments is to understand. So these dangerous things can be used responsibly.
This is what it comes down to, Your Grace. Whatever their intentions, animancy's a pox. It makes a fucking wreck of everything. We all know what Waidwen's legacy's really about. And it ain't about some sparkling saint from Creed Ceres who's mad because he took a stroll down the wrong bridge.
Ha! Wrong bridge indeed.
It's about a bunch of so-called intellectuals fucking with the natural order while the rest of us gotta suffer for it.
What the hell happened to the sound there? I don't know what's happened to the sound here. Hopefully it sorts itself out.
Enough, Adric. Lady Dominel makes a point. If it's animancy, then why do the other states that permit the practice not suffer the same fate? Who among us can say he truly understands why the legacy has taken hold here?
The grieving mother reaches out toward your mind with hers. Bring order to the chaos here. And speaking up, Balmung says, I can. crowd begins to mutter, sounding a doubtful character. Right idea, Watcher, taking this hearing by the curly ones. Don't waste your chance. Waidwen's legacy is the creation of the Leaden Key. Kaiman Izo's downfall was their work, as was the tower in Heritage Hill. They want you to do this. They want animancy to fall. The dull mutterings expand into a din of skepticism that fills the hall. I have seen them in the ruins of Earglan Faith, operating machines that disrupt and redirect the flow of souls, near towns like Gilded Vale and Deerford, where the legacy is universal. As a watcher, I have heard their dead confess their plot. They are stealing the souls of the unborn.
Beasts. Another lunatic at the hearing. Did you remember to lock your sanitarium before you left, Master Barask?
You shame your order by dismissing the truth before you hear it, madam. I expect better from the Knight of the Crucible.
You must know, friend, that the Leaden Key is a mantle for small-time ruffians and children at play. I'm not saying you're a liar. Not yet. But you'd better start making sense of all this. Help us believe you.
If you know anything about me, you know this. I have been called many things, but never a liar. An honest witness is the best piece of evidence you have in this matter.
The only piece of evidence.
The only piece of evidence that doesn't send your kind to the gallows, you mean?
You've made an unexpected case, friend. I'll say that much. It seems we have a new possibility to consider, at the very least. How was it you came to learn all this?
The Martyrs of the Dozen supported my search for answers.
Though it would seem that not all of them were in on your investigation. Nevertheless, I am pleasantly surprised by their open-mindedness here. But these hearings are about more than Waidwen's legacy, even though that is our most pressing concern. Let's say for the moment that I were to take you at your word that our friends in Brackenberry Sanitarium and their peers bear no responsibility for this curse upon my country. I'm curious, what would you do if you were in my position?
Let us have a read. So this helps us decide what would we do about animancy. What are our options? Positive and negative, and kind of right in the middle. I think I like number 2 the most. I think that's the more favourable option. I wouldn't mind a bit more restriction and control, but at the same time, if some people try to restrict it, there'll be other people who will just blow off that entirely, and that's when some of the practices we've seen from animancers will come back. Same with the negative options. People will always try to circumvent the laws, basically, and have been. Animancy should be studied in Dierwood. If you don't, someone else will, and it will wield great power over you. Aelof shakes his head. Animancers serve their own ambitions and their own purses. Giving them powers like setting a child loose in an armory. I do not trust these animancers, seeking first after gain and glory, but if they can heal our children, I would not hinder them.
Very well. That is all I wish to hear. Not just from you, but from everyone. Many days we've been at this. It is time we put it to rest. I want to thank the delegations for helping me collect my thoughts. And our new delegate, who has warned us of a new possibility that must be looked into. The time has come to choose a direction for the Deerwood. I am ready to make my pronouncement. Ramir D. Barash, representing the interests of animancers in Deerwood, step forward.
Your Grace.
The hell is this? Oh shit.
The arguments for and against animancy are both strong in their own way. I must be careful in my judgment.
Forgive me, Your Grace. We will accept no judgment but our own.
What's he doing?
Oh.
No, wait!
Stop this at once!
I'm giving
Theos.
you every chance to end this pursuit. Shall I end it for you? Another time. I am already late.
What? We've collapsed. The words, "Shall I end it for you," ring in your ears. You find yourself gasping for breath, struggling to keep your own balance. You drop to a knee and watch as Theos hurries out of the building. The world dims around you, the screams and clashing of weapons fading to silence. All that remains are the words.
Shall I end it for you?
Theos stands at a pulpit high above an assembly of robed onlookers, you among them, clustered around a wide circular pit carved of stone. He addresses a woman bound backward over a large iron wheel overlooking the great stone mall. Many of the woman's fingers and toes are severed, and the bottoms of her feet are charred black. The skin on one side of her face looks like melted candle wax, black and red and seeping, and the angle of her back suggests a spine in ruins. Yet for all that, her expression betrays little of her anguish.
I am already at peace, Grand Inquisitor. Are you?
Her eyes are barely open and her words come between strangled breaths, but they are steady, unbroken.
So be it. If you desire no end, you shall have none. I find you guilty of heresy. May the eternal prison bar your soul from passage, for it is beyond redemption.
He nods at a hooded attendant who begins untying her from the wheel. You open your eyes to the beaming ceiling of the palace's grand entry hall. The clangs of metal striking metal raft from outside amongst the cries of the injured as you stagger to your feet. Theos is gone. The grieving mother hovers over you with wide, fearful eyes. We are surrounded by spirits of rage and fear. We must flee. Off to one side you can hear the clinking rustle of chainmail, and you look over to see a wounded guard slumped against a wall. He is trying to say something, seemingly directed at you, but at first it is too faint to hear. He gathers his breath and manages to rasp out a few words. Lady Webb, she must be told. She'll know what to do. Please, find her. Tell her everything.
I'll take a look.
Sidley. Don't go outside. There's rioting in the streets. We have no choice. Well, crap. Commoners and justicars. Oh, sounds like there was a fight after all. Just because of killing commoners. Yeah, the dozens and the Knights of the Crucible are really going to be going at it. We couldn't even choose a direction in which to go. We're going to Brackenbury anyway. This is not gonna... Oh! Oh! Well... Isn't that something? Are you going to stop me? Nope. At least the commoners have still a little bit of rational sense to attack a well-armed group. Oh, crap. Looks like someone's been in here and cleaned house. Of course they'd know that the ciphers would be the only ones who could see the manipulation here and maybe set everyone back to rights.
Nice and slow.
Don't really need the money so much, but we can loot them certainly. Yep. Let's make a quick save here before we have visibility. In fact, close that door for a moment. Let's do another quick save.
Yeah. Nice and slow.
Lady Webb lies still in her bed, an ornate cushion propping her back upright. The blood pool beneath a gash in her chest is tacky and nearly dry. A shattered glass rests against the floor beneath her dangled hand. You can feel the faint aura of her fading essence in your ken. You make contact now, immersed in a torrent of sensory input and experience. When it calms, you find yourself in the same room, lying in a bed with a glass of brandy in your hand. Though the walls from the streets outside come the sound of screams and shattering glass, and the cacophony of an angry mob. You take a sip, and it warms your gullet. Across the room the door opens in a patient, steady push, and into the room walks Theos, the floorboards creaking beneath deliberate steps. You wait until the last of the brandy has trickled down your throat before you speak.
I was a fool to think I could tame these people.
You came closer than most.
A fine epitaph.
No worse than any.
You are concentrating, focusing with all of your energy. It feels as if though you are diving into a stone wall over and over, but it cracks suddenly, unexpectedly, allowing the vaguest whisper of thought to leak through.
What's in Twin Elms?
Did you pull that from my thoughts?
I've had time to practice.
He walks over to a small table and raises a half-empty brandy bottle to eye level. He seems to approve of the selection and begins to reach for an empty glass.
I was saving that for someone.
Pity. You know this is how it has to be.
He sits on the bed next to you. His words come freely, absent of all doubt. He draws a long curved knife from his belt smeared with fresh blood. With his left hand he gently pins your sternum as he raises the knife in the other, its point dangling above your heart.
Prove it.
Fear slips the knife between your ribs and pushes it through. Layers of tissue separate with brittle papery stiffness and blood wells up around the blade. A pulsal reflex causes you to drop your glass to the floor and you hear it shatter. With the last of your strength, you take his knife hand in both of yours, a question radiant in your mind. For an instant, to your great surprise, the pathway to his mind is left open to you. Unguarded, and the answer comes. Simple, cataclysmic in its reordering of your thoughts. As Lady Webb, you feel as though you have an answer you've searched for all your life, but in your own mind her understanding lies just beyond your reach. You look at Theos with the wide eyes of someone seeing for the first time, and draw your last breath as a black, velvety darkness descends over you.
Smoke rises above the city walls in billowing plumes that blacken the sky like a storm. Behind the walls, the riots rage on. Known patrons of animancy are forced into hiding as looters ransack their estates and make off with their possessions. Animancers are torn away from their families and dragged from their homes to be stoned to death in the streets. Word had spread immediately that Duke Aevar had been assassinated, and that an animancer was to blame. The city wasted little time in exacting revenge, and little effort into evaluating guilt. In the center of it all, Brackenberry Sanitarium burned. And down the lane, Hodred House, the last bastion of stability in the Deerwood, had fallen silent. Now safely outside the city gate, your path points eastward to Twin Elms, where Theos is bound, for reasons that remain mysterious as the Leaden Key itself.
Welcome to Act 3, ladies and gentlemen. The Assassin at Large. Your quest is to travel to Twin Elms. Theos has killed the Duke and Lady Webb and sent Defiance Bay into chaos. But Lady Webb saw the way he intended to go next, to the city of Twin Elms. It is there I must go if there's any chance of catching up to him. In seeing Lady Webb's last moments, Theos killed her in her bed, but not before she got to him to admit he was heading to Twin Elms. I wonder if she did that knowing I would see it. We don't know much about Twin Elms. Very little, in fact, apart from... I'm not sure if it's the Glenfarthyn city, but it seems to be the Twin Elms entire city seems to be made up of these 4 different areas, kind of like Defiance Bay, I'm guessing. It looks very rustic. Unlike the construction that went into the city of Defiance Bay, this seems very more natural. But then, if it is the Glenforthans, we've seen that they're mostly superstitious tribes. All I know is that Pallegina does want to go there as part of her quest. To be honest, I'm not sure if we'll do it. I'm not a great fan of Pallegina just because of her starting equipment set, I suppose you can say. I kind of like the party I have right now, even if I have traded out Kana for the Grieving Mother. And I don't really want to switch out Ada. Or Alof, I should say. Either of those party members. I don't even want to switch out Sagani, who's probably now my weakest member, because Itumak comes with her, who is a half-decent melee fighter who attracts the attention of some of the enemies we encounter in close-range combat. The floods have receded. The pass through Stormwall Gorge is open. Finally, even the villagers are better than this. Oh, right, so in Stormwall Gorge, there was an area, a pathway, that we couldn't access, and I thought it was my fault because of the relic that we opened. But it seems that there was a flood. So we can now pass this way. Okay. As you cross the bridge, Alof draws up beside you. The fires of Defiance Bay cast a shivering, flickering light across one half of his face. The other is in darkness.
Please stop. I need to tell you something.
What do you mean? Go ahead, Alof.
I have not been entirely honest about my motives for traveling with you up to this point. When I finished my training in Aevar, I was introduced to an organization. All I knew was that they were opposed to the unchecked spread of animancy, and that they could guarantee me postings far away from the Seathwood my father and his Earl. At that time, it was enough. In the early years, I thought of them as many things. Hooded men, prudent teachers, the Leaden Key. Their rules were strict, but their guidance was clear. I sincerely believe they wanted to keep Kith from the folly of their own foolish ambitions. I came to the Deerwood a little over a year ago. My orders were to gather information on animancy in the region.
Alof is a Leaden Key member. Continue.
A senior contact met with me every few months to receive my reports and issue new leads. She sent me to Gilded Vale to keep an eye on events surrounding the local lord, but I lost track of her shortly after that. I don't know if she was reassigned, killed, or sacrificed, the way you saw. At the time you met me, I'd been on my own for a couple of months.
What did you want from me?
I needed some kind of direction. After that scrape with the locals, I was ready to get out of town. But then you mentioned the hooded figures in the machine, and I was sure you were on the trail of the Leaden Key. And I was correct in a way. What we found wasn't what I expected. I knew the Leaden Key was trying to stop animancy, but I didn't realize how far they'd gone. Murder, sabotage, abandoning entire districts to shambling horrors. And now the whole city is up in flames. I'm still not sure about animancy, but I know I've been following the wrong master. Please, accept my apology, and my service. Let me fight with you to stop Theos.
Decisions. It's consideration that we could be seen as a pushover here. Or we could be aggressive about it. Because of this playthrough and because we're role-playing as a more Paragon character, I'll go with this decision. But if I ever play this again, Aevar will be dead by now, basically. I forgive you, Aevar, but I want you beside me, not behind me. I'm not asking you to trade one master for another.
That would be an honor.
Before we go, Don, I'd like to discuss a few things. How exactly did you come to join the Leaden Key? As it often is with such follies, I was young and directionless. The Leaden Key promised some of the structure I was lacking, and they offered me a future far removed from service to my father's Earl. Animancy is, possibly, even more controversial in Adria than it is here. The practice has been outlawed for 600 years, but prohibition has a way of breeding curiosity. The success and relative acceptance that animancy has found here and in the Valalian Republic spurred a renewed interest in Adria. The Leaden Key began recruiting more aggressively, and I was in the final period of my training when one of the instructors reached out to me. As I said, it was a welcome departure from my father's plans, and after seeing a few of my colleagues abandon their studies in magic to pursue animancy in the Republics, I was convinced that something needed to be done to stop the spread. That's all for now. Anyone else have any revelations before we cross this bridge? I think we've spoke to both of you before. No one else? No one else have anything to say? The long hunt for Sigourney, dream and memory for the grieving mother, the master below, yeah, right. And the trials of Durance. We're going to return to Cadnuria and rest up. In fact, tell you what, before we rest, I will just actually end this video here. Because we're now in Act 3, the possibility that Durance or the Grieving Mother will have something to tell us is quite high. I'm guessing, at least. Looks like Ada has something to say as well. Actually, yeah, let's do that since it's here. But, yeah, I expect there may be another dream vision at some point. Ada, what do you have to say to me?
Say what you want about Dear Woodens. They haven't met the problem yet they couldn't solve by killing some scapegoats.
You fight for people because you see something that deserves defending. Even more so because someone you trust sees it too. Then you turn around and they do something like this, and the person who made you want to keep them, want to help them, is gone. People never fail to disappoint without guidance. Heh. Not the ones around here. They're downright regular about it. 15 years ago they tried to kill all the Aephasians. Then the legacy happens and they worry about that maybe those purges had something to do with it. So how do they fix it? Even more purges. Never thought I'd find myself missing the hospitality back home. I wondered if we were going to start a new quest for him. We have a new ability. Dominion of the Sleepers. The Watcher peers into the sleeping memories of previous lives, drawing upon their power to enhance all of his or her attributes. For 20 seconds, we gain +2 Might, Constitution, Dexterity, Perception, Intellect, and Resolve.
Hey.
Anyhow, so I will end this video here as I said I would. This, of course, has been AnthWolf. Let me know what you think. Let me know how you thought that went. And I will see you as we start moving into Act 3 in the next video. Until then, take care. Bye-bye now.